The story of ancient Egypt is one of unparalleled mysticism, grandeur, and innovation. Spanning over 3,000 years, this ancient civilization has left behind profound marks on humanity's cultural, spiritual, and technological evolution. Nestled along the life-giving Nile River, ancient Egypt emerged as a beacon of human achievement. From its religious practices and monumental architecture to its advancements in science and governance, ancient Egypt exemplifies the harmonious interplay between humanity and the divine. This video explores the mystical history of ancient Egyptian civilization, delving deep into its origins, mythology, innovations, and eventual decline. The lifeline of ancient Egypt was the Nile River. Flowing northward into the Mediterranean, the Nile provided a fertile corridor amid a harsh desert landscape. Archaeological evidence suggests that as early as 10,000 BCE, small nomadic groups settled along the riverbanks, drawn by the abundance of resources. The annual flooding of the Nile, known as the inundation, deposited nutrient-rich silt, enabling the cultivation of barley, wheat, and flax. These agricultural advancements gave rise to stable communities and eventually complex societies. By approximately 3100 BCE, King Narmer, sometimes identified as Menes, unified Upper and Lower Egypt into a single kingdom, symbolized by the double crown, or Shent. This marked the beginning of Egypt's dynastic period and the establishment of its centralized government. Narmer's palette, an artifact dating to this era, depicts his military conquests and serves as a testament to the early intertwining of politics, religion, and art in Egyptian culture. The Nile River, often described as the lifeblood of ancient Egypt, played a fundamental role in the emergence and flourishing of this iconic civilization. While many ancient societies struggled to survive in harsh environments, the Nile created a fertile oasis amid the arid desert, offering the resources needed for communities to thrive. Its predictable annual flooding provided a unique advantage that not only supported agriculture, but also influenced the socio-political and religious structures of the early Egyptian state. The cycle of the Nile's flooding, recession, and planting seasons became the cornerstone of Egyptian civilization. Divided into three distinct periods: Akhet, the inundation; Peret, the growing season; and Shemu, the harvest. This rhythm ensured a reliable food supply and fostered a stable society. Unlike the unpredictable rivers of Mesopotamia, the Nile's consistency earned it reverence as a divine force. Egyptians came to see it as a physical and spiritual blessing, personified by Hapi, the god of the Nile's inundation. Ceremonial offerings and rituals were performed to honor Hapi and ensure the continuation of this life-giving cycle. The earliest human presence along the Nile dates back to the Paleolithic period, around 500,000 BCE. Archaeological evidence, including stone tools and early shelters, suggests that nomadic hunter-gatherer groups roamed the river valley. However, the shift towards sedentary agricultural communities began during the Neolithic period, around 10,000 BCE to 4,000 BCE. This transition was gradual, as groups learned to domesticate plants and animals, creating surplus food supplies that supported larger populations. By around 5,500 BCE, distinct cultures began emerging in the Nile Valley. Notable among these were the Fayum, Merimde, and Badarian cultures, which laid the foundations for later Egyptian civilization. The Badarian culture, from around 4,400 BCE to 4,000 BCE in particular, was characterized by advanced pottery, the use of copper tools, and early evidence of mummification practices, suggesting a budding belief in the afterlife. The Naqada culture, from around 4000 BCE to 3100 BCE, marked a pivotal stage in the development of Egyptian society. Divided into three phases, Naqada 1, 2, and the 3, this culture saw significant advancements in technology, art, and social organization. By the Naqada 3 phase, also known as the Proto-Dynastic period, the Nile Valley was dotted with small competing chiefdoms. These proto-kingdoms, such as Hierakonpolis, Abydos, and Naqada, engaged in trade, warfare, and cultural exchange, setting the stage for the unification of Egypt. One of the most transformative events in Egyptian history occurred around 3100 BCE, when King Narmer, sometimes identified as Menes, unified Upper and Lower Egypt into a single, centralized kingdom. The unification process likely involved both military conquest and diplomatic alliances, as evidenced by artifacts like the Narmer palette. This ceremonial slate, discovered at Hierakonpolis, depicts Narmer wearing the white crown of Upper Egypt and the red crown of Lower Egypt, symbolizing his rule over the two lands. The unification of Egypt was more than just a political achievement, it was a cultural and spiritual milestone. The duality of Upper and Lower Egypt became a recurring theme in Egyptian symbolism, art, and religion. The pharaoh's double crown, known as the Shent, embodied this unity, while deities such as Wadjet, the cobra goddess of Lower Egypt, and Nekhbet, the vulture goddess of Upper Egypt, were paired to represent the harmonious balance of the kingdom. This newly unified state established its capital at Memphis, strategically located at the junction of Upper and Lower Egypt. Memphis became a bustling center of administration, trade, and culture, serving as the political heart of the kingdom for centuries. The unification of Egypt also facilitated the expansion of trade networks that linked the Nile Valley to neighboring regions. Early Egyptians traded gold, copper, and precious stones with the Nubians to the south, and imported cedar wood, oils, and luxury goods from the Levant. These exchanges not only enriched Egypt economically, but also introduced new ideas and technologies, such as advanced metallurgy and shipbuilding techniques. The development of trade and resource management was closely tied to the invention of writing. The earliest hieroglyphs, dating to around 3200 BCE, were initially used for administrative purposes, such as recording taxes and inventory. Over time, writing evolved into a sophisticated system that played a crucial role in Egyptian culture, religion, and governance. The early Egyptian worldview was deeply influenced by the natural environment, particularly the Nile's duality of life and death. This duality became central to Egyptian religion, which emphasized the balance between opposing forces. Early beliefs likely revolved around animistic and totemic practices, but by the time of unification, these had developed into a complex pantheon of gods and goddesses. The concept of divine kingship emerged during this formative period. The pharaoh was not merely a political leader but also a living god who acted as the intermediary between humanity and the divine. This belief legitimized the pharaoh's authority and reinforced the idea that the prosperity of Egypt depended on his ability to maintain Ma'at, the cosmic order. As Egypt entered the early dynastic period, around 3100 BCE to 2686 BCE, the structures established during these formative centuries laid the groundwork for the civilization's remarkable longevity. The Nile's predictable cycles continued to sustain agriculture and population growth, while the centralized administration ensured stability. The unification of Upper and Lower Egypt remained a powerful symbol of harmony and strength, resonating throughout the ages. The Nile not only shaped the physical landscape of Egypt, but also its cultural and spiritual identity. Its waters were seen as a bridge between life and the afterlife, a theme that permeated Egyptian art, literature, and religious practices. In many ways, the birth of civilization along the Nile was not just the story of a society adapting to its environment, but also a profound example of humanity's ability to create meaning and order from the natural world. The grandeur of ancient Egyptian architecture reflects their preoccupation with immortality and the afterlife. Early mastabas, flat-roofed tombs, eventually evolved into the iconic pyramids of the Old Kingdom, around 2686 to 2181 BCE. The Step Pyramid of Djoser at Saqqara, designed by the architect Imhotep, was the first monumental stone structure in history. The Fourth Dynasty saw the construction of the Great Pyramids of Giza, marvels of engineering and spiritual significance. Khufu's Great Pyramid, composed of over 2 million limestone blocks, stands as a testament to the Egyptians' advanced understanding of mathematics and astronomy. The alignment of the pyramids with the cardinal points and the celestial shafts aimed at specific stars reflects their cosmological beliefs, emphasizing the pharaoh's journey to the heavens. The Great Sphinx, with the body of a lion and the head of a pharaoh, likely Khafra, remains an enigmatic guardian of these sacred monuments. Its purpose, whether symbolic, spiritual, or political, continues to inspire debate among scholars. Ancient Egypt's monumental architecture remains one of its most awe-inspiring legacies, embodying the civilization's profound spiritual beliefs advanced engineering skills, and unrelenting quest for immortality. These architectural marvels, spanning from the step pyramids of the early dynastic period to the grand temples of the New Kingdom, were not merely feats of construction, but sacred endeavors deeply rooted in the Egyptian worldview. At the heart of their architectural achievements lay a desire to bridge the mortal world with the divine, ensuring eternal life for the pharaohs, their subjects, and the gods themselves. The seeds of Egypt's monumental architecture were sown during the early dynastic period, around 3100 BCE to 2686 BCE, a time when the concept of divine kingship and the belief in the afterlife took root. The earliest royal tombs were mastabas, rectangular structures with flat roofs and sloping sides, built of mud brick or stone. These tombs, often located in necropolises like Abydos and Saqqara, served as the final resting places of kings and elites. Mastabas were designed to protect the deceased's body and possessions, while providing a space for offerings to sustain the ka, or spirit, in the afterlife. Over time, these simple structures became more elaborate, incorporating underground chambers and intricate decorations, foreshadowing the grander architectural innovations of the Old Kingdom. The Old Kingdom, around 2686 BCE to 2181 BCE, often referred to as the Age of the Pyramids, marked a turning point in Egyptian monumental architecture. This era began with the construction of the Step Pyramid of Giza at Saqqara, the first large-scale stone structure in human history. Commissioned by Pharaoh Djoser, the Step Pyramid was designed by his vizier and architect Imhotep, who was later deified for his genius. Imhotep's vision transformed the traditional mastaba into a six-tiered structure rising 62 meters above the desert floor. The pyramid was part of a larger funerary complex, complete with courtyards, temples, and chapels, all enclosed within a massive limestone wall. The Step Pyramid was not just a tomb, but a symbolic representation of the pharaoh's divine ascent to the heavens. Its design reflected the Egyptian belief in the afterlife, where the king's soul would join the gods and ensure the continuity of Ma'at, the cosmic order. The architectural achievements of the Old Kingdom reached their zenith during the 4th dynasty, around 2613 BCE to 2494 BCE, with the construction of the Great Pyramids of Giza. Built for pharaohs Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure, these pyramids remain enduring symbols of ancient Egypt's grandeur and ingenuity. The Great Pyramid of Khufu, also known as the Pyramid of Cheops, this structure was the largest of the three and originally stood at 146 meters. Built with over 2 million limestone blocks, each weighing an average of 2.5 tons, the Great Pyramid was aligned with the cardinal points and the stars. Its internal chambers, including the King's Chamber and the Grand Gallery, reflect a sophisticated understanding of engineering and spiritual symbolism. The Pyramid of Khafre. Slightly smaller than Khufu's pyramid, Khafre's tomb is often associated with the Great Sphinx, a colossal statue of a lion with the pharaoh's head. The Sphinx, carved from a single limestone block, is believed to symbolize Khafre's power and divine guardianship. The Pyramid of Menkaure. The smallest of the three, Menkaure's pyramid was distinguished by its use of granite in the lower casing stones, adding a unique aesthetic touch. The construction of these pyramids remains a topic of debate and wonder. Ancient Egyptian engineers likely employed a combination of ramps, levers, and human labor, yet the precision and scale of these structures continue to inspire awe. The pyramids were far more than monumental tombs. They were profound expressions of the Egyptian worldview. Their triangular shape symbolized the rays of the sun, linking the pharaoh to Ra, the sun god. The orientation of the pyramids, aligned with celestial bodies, underscored the Egyptians' advanced knowledge of astronomy and their belief in the afterlife's connection to the cosmos. Inside the pyramids, elaborate burial chambers housed the pharaoh's mummified body, surrounded by treasures, food, and amulets to aid the journey to the afterlife. Texts like the pyramid texts, inscribed on the walls of these chambers, contained spells and prayers to guide the deceased through the underworld. While pyramids were built to honor the dead, temples were constructed to honor the gods. Temples served as the earthly homes of deities, where priests performed daily rituals to maintain the gods' favor and uphold Ma'at. These temples, built throughout Egypt's history, range from modest shrines to colossal complexes. Karnak Temple Complex. Dedicated primarily to Amun-Ra, Karnak is one of the largest religious structures ever built. Its hypostyle hall, with 134 massive columns, creates a breathtaking visual experience that mirrors the primordial swamp of Egyptian creation myths. Luxor Temple. Also dedicated to Amun-Ra, Luxor Temple was the site of the annual Opet festival, where the statue of the god was paraded between Karnak and Luxor. Abu Simbel. Built by Ramses II, this temple complex is famous for its colossal statues of the pharaoh and its alignment with the sun. Twice a year, sunlight illuminates the inner sanctum, highlighting Ramses and the gods seated beside him. These temples were not only places of worship but also centers of economic and political power. Priests managed vast estates, collected taxes, and oversaw agricultural production, making temples integral to the administration of the state. During the New Kingdom, around 1550 BCE to 1070 BCE, the focus of royal burials shifted from pyramids to rock-cut tombs in the Valley of the Kings. Located near Thebes, which is modern Luxor, this necropolis was chosen for its remote and secure location, designed to deter tomb robbers. Tombs in the Valley of the Kings, such as those of Tutankhamun and Ramses II, were intricately decorated with scenes from the Book of the Dead, the Amduat, and other religious texts. These illustrations provided a visual guide for the deceased to navigate the afterlife and achieve eternal life. The mortuary temples of the New Kingdom, such as Hatshepsut's temple at Deir el-Bahri and Ramses III's temple at Medinet Habu, combined elements of tombs and temples, emphasizing the pharaoh's dual role as a god and a mortal. Ancient Egypt's monumental architecture continues to captivate the modern world, not only for its sheer scale, but also for its symbolic depth. These structures embody the Egyptians' unwavering belief in the afterlife, their connection to the divine, and their mastery of engineering and artistry. The pyramids, temples, and tombs stand as eternal reminders of a civilization that sought to transcend mortality and achieve harmony with the cosmos. Their enduring legacy inspires awe, curiosity, and reverence, bridging the ancient and modern worlds. Ancient Egyptian mythology is a rich tapestry of gods, cosmic battles, and moral lessons. The pantheon consisted of deities representing natural forces and human emotions. Ra, the sun god, sailed across the sky each day, only to descend into the underworld at night and battle the serpent Apep. This daily cycle symbolized renewal and rebirth. Osiris, the god of the dead, presided over the afterlife, where the deceased's heart was weighed against Ma'at's feather in the Hall of Judgment. Successful souls entered the Field of Reeds, a paradise resembling the earthly Nile Valley. Those deemed unworthy faced obliteration by Ammit, a fearsome demon with the body of a lion, the head of a crocodile, and the hindquarters of a hippopotamus. Isis, the goddess of magic and motherhood, played a pivotal role in the Osiris myth. After Osiris was murdered by his brother Seth, Isis resurrected him long enough to conceive their son Horus, who avenged his father's death. This myth encapsulated themes of love, justice, and the eternal struggle between order and chaos. At the heart of ancient Egyptian civilization lay a deeply mystical and intricate mythology, centered on a vast pantheon of gods, cosmic narratives, and the promise of life beyond death. This mythology permeated every facet of Egyptian society, shaping its art, governance, architecture, and daily life. The Egyptians' worldview was profoundly spiritual, driven by the belief that the mortal world was inextricably connected to the divine realm. This section delves into the mythology of the gods and goddesses, their symbolic roles, and the afterlife's central place in the Egyptian spiritual framework. Ancient Egypt was a civilization of extraordinary technological and scientific innovation. Their mastery of irrigation systems allowed them to harness the Nile's floods, transforming arid land into fertile fields. They devised the solar calendar, dividing the year into 365 days to track agricultural cycles. Medicine was another area of expertise. The Edwin Smith Papyrus and Ebers Papyrus document surgical procedures, remedies, and anatomical knowledge. Egyptian physicians combined practical treatments with spiritual rituals, often invoking deities like Sekhmet, the lion-headed goddess of healing and war. The art of mummification epitomized their scientific acumen and religious devotion. By preserving the body, they ensured the ka, or vital essence, could reunite with the Bae, or personality, in the afterlife. The process involved intricate techniques, including evisceration, desiccation, and wrapping, accompanied by ritualistic prayers and amulets for protection. Ancient Egypt was a beacon of innovation and ingenuity, its technological and scientific advancements reflecting a civilization deeply attuned to its environment, and driven by a quest for both practicality and spiritual perfection. From their mastery of agriculture and medicine, to their groundbreaking engineering feats and sophisticated understanding of mathematics and astronomy, the Egyptians set a foundation for numerous disciplines that continue to influence humanity. This section explores the scientific and technological achievements of ancient Egypt, showcasing how their innovations not only served daily needs, but also elevated their cultural and spiritual ideals. The fertile lands of the Nile Valley provided the foundation for Egypt's agricultural prowess. The Egyptians developed sophisticated techniques to harness the river's resources, enabling them to sustain large populations and create surpluses that fueled their economy. The Egyptians constructed an intricate network of canals, basins, and dikes to control the Nile's flooding. By capturing floodwaters and distributing them to fields, they maximized the productivity of their land. This simple yet ingenious water lifting device consisted of a pole with a bucket on one end and a counterweight on the other. It allowed farmers to transfer water from the Nile to higher ground, making irrigation more efficient. The Egyptian calendar was divided into 3 seasons based on the Nile's cycle: Akhet, Pere, and Shemu. This precise understanding of the river's rhythms ensured consistent agricultural output. The Egyptians cultivated staple crops such as wheat and barley, as well as flax for linen production. They also grew fruits, vegetables, and papyrus, a versatile plant used for making paper. Their agricultural innovations laid the foundation for one of the world's earliest and most stable economies. The architectural and engineering accomplishments of ancient Egypt remain unparalleled, reflecting not only their technical expertise, but also their profound spiritual beliefs. The construction of the Great Pyramids of Giza required advanced knowledge of geometry, surveying, and logistics. The precise alignment of these structures with celestial bodies demonstrates their sophisticated understanding of astronomy. The Egyptians developed techniques to extract, shape, and transport massive stone blocks, including the use of copper tools, sledges, and ramps. Evidence suggests they used water to reduce friction when moving stones across the desert. During the New Kingdom, the focus shifted to rock-cut tombs, such as those in the Valley of the Kings. These structures required careful planning to carve into the limestone cliffs, ensuring both stability and security. Monumental temples like Karnak and Abu Simbel showcased the Egyptians' ability to manipulate space, light, and acoustics to create awe-inspiring places of worship. The hypostyle hall at Karnak, with its massive columns, is a testament to their architectural ambition. These engineering marvels were not merely functional but also symbolic, representing the pharaoh's divine authority and the Egyptians' connection to the gods and the cosmos. Egyptian medicine was a remarkable blend of empirical knowledge and spiritual practices, reflecting their holistic approach to health and well-being. Papyrus scrolls, such as the Edwin Smith Papyrus and the Ebers Papyrus, provide valuable insights into Egyptian medical practices. These texts included diagnoses, treatments, and surgical procedures, covering ailments ranging from wounds to internal diseases. Egyptian physicians performed surgeries using instruments like scalpels, forceps, and sutures. Procedures included setting fractures, draining abscesses, and even brain surgery in some cases. Egyptians used a wide array of natural ingredients for healing, including honey, garlic, and castor oil. These remedies were often combined with prayers and rituals to invoke the gods' healing power. Egyptian medicine was highly specialized, with practitioners focusing on specific areas such as ophthalmology, dentistry, and gynecology. Priests of Sekhmet, the lion-headed goddess of healing, often doubled as physicians. Egyptian medicine's empirical and spiritual approach influenced later civilizations, including the Greeks and Romans, establishing a foundation for the development of modern medical practices. Mathematics was integral to Egyptian society, enabling advancements in architecture, engineering, and administration. The construction of pyramids and temples required precise calculations, including the measurement of angles and areas. The Egyptians were skilled at using ropes with knots to create right angles, a technique critical for surveying land and aligning structures. Egyptian mathematicians used a base 10 system and developed methods for multiplication, division, and fractions. The Rhind mathematical papyrus, dating to around 1650 BCE, contains practical problems and solutions related to construction and trade. Units of measurement, such as the cubit, were standardized and used in construction and surveying. Tools like plumb bobs and leveling instruments ensured accuracy. These mathematical innovations allowed the Egyptians to achieve feats of engineering that still baffle modern scientists. The Egyptians were keen observers of the heavens, integrating their astronomical knowledge into their religion, architecture, and daily life. Celestial alignment temples and pyramids were often aligned with celestial events, such as the rising of specific stars or the solstices. For example, the Great Pyramid of Giza is precisely aligned with the cardinal points of the compass. Calendars. The Egyptians developed a solar calendar consisting of 365 days, divided into 12 months of 30 days each, with an additional 5 days for festivals. This calendar allowed them to predict the Nile's flooding and plan agricultural activities. Star charts. The Egyptians identified constellations and tracked the movements of stars, particularly Sirius, the dog star, whose heliacal rising signaled the start of the Nile flood season. Astronomy was deeply intertwined with their spiritual beliefs, as the stars were seen as manifestations of divine order and guidance. In addition to their achievements in agriculture, medicine, and astronomy, the Egyptians developed numerous tools and technologies that enhanced daily life. Papyrus and writing. The invention of papyrus revolutionized record-keeping, allowing for the creation of administrative documents, literary works, and religious texts. Clocks and timekeeping. The Egyptians invented sundials, water clocks, and star clocks to measure time accurately, both for practical purposes and religious rituals. Glassmaking. They were among the first to develop glass-blowing techniques, producing beads, vessels, and decorative items. Shipbuilding. The Egyptians built robust boats using papyrus reeds and later wood, enabling trade and transportation along the Nile and beyond. Ancient Egyptian society was hierarchical but vibrant. At the top were the pharaoh and the priesthood, followed by scribes, artisans, farmers, and laborers. Despite this stratification, Egyptians valued community and celebration. Festivals honoring deities like Hathor involved music, dance, and offerings, creating opportunities for communal joy. Art and writing were integral to daily life. Hieroglyphics adorned tomb walls, temples, and papyrus scrolls, serving both practical and spiritual purposes. Scenes of agricultural abundance, family gatherings, and offerings reflected their love of life and hope for eternity. Women in ancient Egypt enjoyed relatively high status compared to other ancient civilizations. They could own property, initiate divorce, and hold influential positions. Notable female leaders included Hatshepsut, who ruled as pharaoh, and Cleopatra VII, the last ruler of Ptolemaic Egypt. Ancient Egyptian society was vibrant, complex, and deeply interconnected with the rhythms of nature and the beliefs that shaped every aspect of their existence. From their social structure and professions to their food, leisure, and artistic expression, Egyptians exhibited a love for life and an emphasis on balance and harmony. Their culture reflected a blend of practicality and spirituality, where even the mundane was imbued with meaning. This section explores the culture and daily life of ancient Egypt, shedding light on how the people lived, worked, celebrated, and found joy in their world. Ancient Egyptian society was organized into a strict hierarchical structure, with the pharaoh at the apex as both a political and spiritual leader. Beneath him, a highly stratified society ensured order and stability. 1. The pharaoh. Considered a living god, the pharaoh was the supreme ruler responsible for maintaining ma'at, or cosmic order. He was the ultimate authority in governance, religion, and military matters. 2. Nobles and priests. The elite class managed temples, estates, and the administration of the state. Priests in particular played a critical role in religious ceremonies and acted as intermediaries between the gods and the people. 3. Scribes and bureaucrats. Scribes were highly respected for their literacy and record-keeping skills. They managed everything from taxes and trade to temple archives and legal documents. 4. Artisans and craftsmen. This skilled class included painters, sculptors, potters, weavers, and builders. They created the magnificent art and architecture for which Egypt is renowned. 5. Farmers and laborers. The majority of the population worked the land, cultivating crops and raising livestock. During the agricultural off-season, many farmers contributed to massive state projects, such as building pyramids and temples. 6. Slaves and servants. While slavery existed in Egypt, most slaves were war captives or debtors rather than members of a specific class. They worked in households, temples, and mines. This hierarchy was not rigid, and individuals could rise in status through education, marriage, or royal favor, especially those serving in skilled professions like scribes or military leaders. The daily lives of ancient Egyptians varied greatly depending on their social class, yet many aspects of life were shared across society. Homes and settlements. Most Egyptians lived in mud brick houses, designed to stay cool in the desert heat. Homes typically had flat roofs, which were often used as additional living or sleeping space. Wealthier individuals lived in larger, more elaborate houses with courtyards and gardens. Settlements were typically located near the Nile, where access to water and fertile soil was vital. Cities like Thebes, Memphis, and Heliopolis became cultural and administrative centers. Clothing and adornments. Egyptians wore light, breathable clothing made from linen, a fabric derived from flax. Men typically wore simple kilts, while women donned long dresses. Wealthier Egyptians adorned their clothing with pleats, dyes, and jewelry. Both men and women wore necklaces, bracelets, and rings made from gold, silver, and semi-precious stones. Amulets often served a dual purpose as decoration and protection against evil spirits. Cosmetics were widely used by both genders, not only for beauty, but also for practical purposes. Black coal eyeliner protected their eyes from the sun, and scented oils kept their skin hydrated in the harsh climate. Food and drink. Egyptian cuisine was diverse, and depended on the resources of the Nile and surrounding lands. Bread and beer were the cornerstone of the Egyptian diet. Bread was made from emmer wheat, while beer was brewed using barley and flavored with dates or herbs. Figs, dates, melons, cucumbers, garlic, onions, and lettuce were common in their diet. Meat was a luxury for most, but fish, poultry, and occasionally beef or lamb were consumed. Eggs and dairy products like cheese and milk were also staples. Festivals and special occasions often involved large banquets with an abundance of food and drink. The wealthy enjoyed delicacies such as roasted goose and honey-sweetened pastries. The decline of ancient Egypt began in the New Kingdom around 1550 to 1070 BCE, exacerbated by internal strife, economic challenges, and foreign invasions. The Assyrians, Persians, and eventually Alexander the Great incorporated Egypt into their empires. The Roman conquest in 30 BCE marked the end of pharaonic rule. Despite its decline, Egypt's legacy endured. The Rosetta Stone, discovered in 1799, allowed scholars like Jean-François Champollion to decode hieroglyphics, rekindling global fascination with ancient Egypt. Today, archaeological discoveries continue to unveil the mysteries of this civilization, reminding us of its timeless allure. The decline of ancient Egypt marked the gradual waning of one of the most extraordinary civilizations in human history. Despite its fall, Egypt's cultural, technological, and spiritual contributions profoundly shaped the ancient and modern worlds, ensuring that its legacy would endure long after its political power faded. This section explores the factors that contributed to Egypt's decline and the enduring influence of its legacy across the centuries. The decline of ancient Egypt was not a sudden event, but rather a series of interconnected challenges, including internal strife, economic instability, environmental changes, and foreign invasions. These factors gradually weakened Egypt's once great power over several centuries. 1. The end of the New Kingdom, around 1070 BCE. The New Kingdom, often considered the golden age of ancient Egypt, ended with increasing instability. The prolonged reign of Ramses II had been one of prosperity and monumental achievements, but his successors struggled to maintain the same strength. Key challenges during this period included internal corruption, economic decline, and weak leadership. 2. The Third Intermediate Period, from 1070 BCE to 664 BCE. This era saw the fragmentation of Egypt into competing regional powers. Notable developments during this period included the division of the kingdom, Libyan influence, and Nubian conquest. 3. The Late Period, from 664 BCE to 332 BCE. The Late Period saw a series of foreign invasions that increasingly eroded Egypt's independence. Assyrian conquest, Persian rule, and the arrival of Alexander the Great marked significant events during this time. 4. The Ptolemaic and Roman periods, from 332 BCE to 641 CE. The Ptolemaic dynasty, established by Alexander's general Ptolemy, sought to integrate Greek and Egyptian culture. Roman annexation in 30 BCE marked the final chapter of ancient Egypt as an independent power. Roman control lasted for centuries, during which Egypt remained a critical source of grain and wealth for the empire. By the 4th century CE, Christianity had replaced traditional Egyptian religion, and many ancient temples were repurposed or abandoned. Environmental and economic factors. Beyond political and military challenges, environmental and economic factors played a significant role in Egypt's decline. Changes in the Nile's flooding, resource depletion, and trade disruptions were key elements that contributed to the weakening of Egypt's economy and social stability. Legacy of ancient Egypt. Despite its political decline, the legacy of ancient Egypt endured, influencing cultures and civilizations across the world. Its cultural and religious influence, advancements in science and medicine, monumental architecture, and presence in popular culture and modern identity are testaments to its enduring impact. The eternal allure of ancient Egypt. Though the political entity of ancient Egypt ceased to exist, its spirit endures. The civilization's profound achievements in governance, art, science, and religion continue to inspire and educate. Egypt's ability to harmonize the mortal and divine, the practical and mystical, resonates across time, offering timeless lessons about resilience, creativity, and the pursuit of greatness. The sands of time may have buried much of ancient Egypt, but its legacy remains eternal, a testament to humanity's potential to achieve the extraordinary.